Hey guys, it's Marissa from Grow in the Flow, and I'm popping in here on Thriving Thursday because we are back at it again. Mercury Retrograde, stationing retrograde tomorrow, September 9th, and continuing through October 2nd. So, as I like to say, I am not an astrologer, I am an enthusiast, and I'm so grateful to be able to weave together all of these amazing resources that I have here to share with you today. So as we dive in, we're going to take a look at some of the aspects of Mercury retrograde, how we can best work with this energy. We're going to do a collective card pull with a retrograde spread. So with this Mercury retrograde happening, it will make for 7 planets in retrograde now. That's right. We see here that we have each of these astral bodies currently stationing retrograde, bringing forward a lot of different astrological aspects that we can work with, and certainly we are feeling the effects of. So specifically with Mercury, this is the planet that rules over our mind. And so the first thing to know is that it's a good reminder for us to slow our mind and create more stillness and calm. And this is an overall theme that we're feeling, especially this month in September, opportunities to reprioritize, reevaluate on much deeper levels. Now, Mercury is going to be going retrograde in the air sign of Libra, which is pretty favorable. It is going to then move through Virgo toward the end of the retrograde period. So that's going to bring forward things such as old relationship issues or legal matters, things that could arise during this time. Now, many of us know Mercury retrograde has a rap for amplifying a restlessness or misunderstandings, miscommunications. But what we need to keep in mind is that there might be a lot of hype about this. It's nothing to fear. This is about being mindful, not fearful. These are natural astrological aspects that occur every year. So it's best for us to be in flow with whatever the current energies are and maximize that time for whatever they are offering us. So, in the midst of Mercury retrograde, our lives might be feeling a little bit confusing. There can be a little bit of out of order energy and a tendency for a lack of attention or patience. But the key for getting through this transit is to slow things down and just allow ourselves to process those areas of our lives that feel confusing. Use this energy to work through towards greater clarity. So now we can mentally prepare that there's likely to be inaccuracies, indecisiveness, cloudy-mindedness. Again, the best thing to do is for us to remain patient if we experience delays or glitches or any crossed wires. Use this time to practice more compassion and empathy. So that has to do with forgiving ourselves and others, really finding that balance and harmony in our relationships, which is really connected in with that Libran energy. So during the period that Mercury retrograde is traveling through Libra, that's where the theme can show up with issues and aspects highlighted around our relationships and how we connect with others, communication. So then once we move into Virgo, we could notice themes around our work-life balance, our health, and particularly our habits relating to our health. And that's something that we talked about previously about Virgo season, of coming into wholeness and focusing on those aspects for ourselves. But now let's take a look back at a little bit about Mercury retrograde before we talk about more in depth how this might play out with each of those different positions. So Mercury retrograde, again, is a natural rhythm of the cosmos, nothing to fear, just to be mindful of. And that, that is an aspect where it's going to potentially impact our thoughts, communication, technology, travel. There can be delays or indecision, mishaps, and miscommunications. It's all part of the energy that's streaming here onto the planet. So the best way for us to deal with that energy, if we are feeling sluggish or easily confused or mentally foggy, again, is being patient, taking breaks, rest, recharge, and all of the re's that are going to be coming up in this very heavily retrograde period. Now, when Mercury aligns with the sun, that is a time where it's considered to be reborn. So we're likely to have some clarity, some new wisdom, maybe some insights into what messages Mercury's been trying to deliver. So that's a welcome reprieve that we can expect on September 22nd. Perfect timing, as that is also the autumn equinox. So that is a time where we may be finding a little bit of that fogginess to dissipate and some clarity to come in. Now, before we get there, right after Mercury stations retrograde tomorrow, Friday the 9th, Saturday the 10th, we're going to have a Pisces full moon. So because we're having this retrograde action happening just before a full moon in the sign of Pisces, there's definitely an energy of some fogginess, being scattered, having a little bit of ungroundedness, at feeling maybe directionless. So again, preparing by getting grounded, doing the practices that help you to really come into your body, to connect with nature and do those types of things that will help you to move through that with greater flow. And that best happens by surrendering to it and working with the energy. So as we move through that Pisces full moon and with the retrograde energies, there's also likely to be a little focus on our dreams. Your dreams may be more potent, more amplified. And so it's also a good opportunity for some journaling, some reflection or meditation on what is coming up for you in your dream states as well. So now once we get past that alignment on September 22nd, Mercury will move through Virgo from September 23rd on. So that's where we're going to see potentially the highlight on areas behind our daily habits that relate to our health and well-being, asking about our motivation, whether it's rooted in our alignment, my keyword for September, or somewhere else. So then, it's kind of a brief pass through. Before we know it, Mercury will end its retrograde on October 2nd. But it won't be back to that, full strength of forward movement until October 16th, because we have that retrograde shadow. After this, there's only one more stop in Mercury retrograde this year, and that cycle will begin on December 29th. So, again, staying grounded, taking time to pause, allowing yourself to reflect on whatever it is that's being highlighted from the past, journaling, listening to your intuition, practicing becoming a better listener, and being patient with technology. Use these pauses as a sign that it's time to take a break. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the retrograde spread and pull some cards for the collective. Okay guys, so now we're going to take a look at this retrograde tarot spread, tuning into our collective energy to get a sense of what we may expect during this retrograde period and how we can be mindful of these things and how it may help us along our karmic paths. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Psychic Tarot. I'm going to start shuffling as we talk through the intentions here for this collective reading. So again, collective readings, they're going to hit on some things that may resonate with you, other aspects not as much. So we're going to see how that comes up, and you are always welcome to take what resonates and leave the rest. So our first position is a card to represent what this retrograde has in store. So let's get a card for what this retrograde may have in store for us. Ooh, okay, and an interruption that this retrograde may cause, as if that card is not disruptive enough. Literally with the word disruption. Okay, let's see. Now we have an important shift that will happen during this time. Beautiful. Fourth position, something to be mindful of during this retrograde. And how Mercury retrograde can help on our karmic path. What we may expect beyond this retrograde period. Okay, beautiful. I love it. All right, let's take a closer look. Okay, so the first position is a card to represent what this retrograde has in store, and we get the Tower. Here it is called disruption. Now, the Tower is nothing to fear. I know this energy can kind of make people uneasy because of the tendency for it to be something sudden, unexpected, and here, as it says, disruptive. It's meant to disrupt. And so that doesn't have to be a negative thing or a shocking thing. And I actually see here in how it's depicted, I like how there's these slices through because it's bringing forward something that I've been seeing a lot in my personal readings that I've been doing for myself and for others is, all of this talk about decluttering and clearing things and releasing things. Not only does that obviously bring in room for the new, but another theme that's come up, it came up this week for our September 5th week ahead reading that we are moving through right now, is that once we start moving things around and decluttering, it makes room for the old stuff to come up to the surface. And here we even see that it can make things a little bit unsettled, a little in the foundations of, things that were not solid, things that are in need of repair coming to our attention. So, it can have in store for us a continued highlight on those areas, those underground sneaky places within ourselves that may be in need of repair, of reinforcement, and additional clearing out. Because after we clear one layer, there's another one, and then another one. So that's been coming up a lot. And I actually see this Tower disruption card as a good disruption, it's like an intermission. That's what I'm feeling. It's like an intermission. This retrograde period between now and October 2nd, it's a little intermission from all the action that you were putting into place, all the things that you're ready to launch. It's another review, another going back over things to reassess and reevaluate and realign. So as we put the parts back together, again, they're not necessarily the same as they were before, but they're reinforced and they're new and improved. So that's what I'm seeing there. Let's move on to the next card and see what comes up. Now, the second position is an interruption that this retrograde may cause, and we have the Five of Pentacles noting financial and material changes. So what this usually says to me, especially in the vein of technical glitches and communication problems, that, these are potentially minor hiccups along the way, financially in the way of checks not clearing or something being awry with technology, not being able to log on to your bank account or something under the realm of your financial and material wellness and technology. So glitches, delays, downed systems, things like that. Bounce checks, if anybody does that anymore. But different things that again are disruptive interruptions, but nothing catastrophic. Now, 5 does represent change, expansion. So again, one of the things they say with retrograde, Mercury retrograde is that, don't start any new deals, don't sign any contracts, don't make any major purchases. So again, mindful, not fearful. If you were already in the process of something that's underway, ahead of retrograde or in progress, nothing wrong with proceeding through that. Again, just be extra thorough, extra careful in checking over things, dotting I's and crossing T's and all of those things, just to be sure that you are slowing down and being very thorough. That's what's coming up there with that energy. Other interruptions, that Five of Pentacles can also reference, feelings of dis-ease, feeling unwell. So a little bit of seasonal setbacks when it comes to allergies and sniffles and things that could be coming through that, again, are all indicators of physical ailments and squeaky wheels and things that pop up to let us know, clue us in on areas of the body where energy might be in need of some clearing and some movement and further healing. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the third card. I feel better already. Feel this shift now. So we're coming through card 1 and 2, disruption, financial and material changes. Position 3 is an important shift that will happen during this time. And look at this beautiful new beginning. We have the Ace of Cups. love begins. So this again feels like perhaps that midway point that I mentioned around September 22nd, where things can become a little more clear, communication could flow a little better. This feels like more clarity in emotions and feelings and relationships. It doesn't have to be romantic, it can be, but in all areas of our relationships where there could be some challenges or some stickiness with communication and such during this period, I think an important shift here is, again, because just by listening to this reading and tuning into this energy, you're taking it to the next level of saying, I'm going to go into this empowered and be aware that when these things crop up, that I say, oh, yes, this is what we were talking about. These are the kind of hiccups and delays and things that can come up along my path that I can flow with and gain greater clarity. And so one of the aspects of that, again, was practicing being a better listener and a better communicator. So it's pushing us to do better. And the payback on that will be abundant, as we see with this cup overflowing with beautiful, loving energies. Okay, now card 4, something to be mindful of during this retrograde, and we have the Two of Wands. I actually love this version of the card because it's really showing us, it's called the waiting game. When things slow down and move perhaps at a snail's pace or not as quickly as we'd like them to go, or when we have these forced pauses, we really have an opportunity, again, to reassess and reevaluate. And this beautiful card has these different timelines or paths that we see depicted here, and the choice is ours. So, it may be in the stuckness, in the pause, we see options highlighted that perhaps we didn't see before, different directions that we may choose to go. So there's this choice point of pondering before we take the next step. And so this can be a really beautiful energy because you see those deep roots, but we also see the new growth that's coming. It's not here yet. So again, we're encouraged to be present with what is and finding joy in the journey. So even in the planning process, even in the back to the drawing board reassessment processes for things, there can be a lot of wisdom gleaned and growth and healing that happen. And so it's really about reflecting in the pause here and recognizing that we do have choices again that we might not even realize we have, resources that we may not even realize we have. So, just be mindful that if things feel stuck or rerouted in some way that initially brings some disappointment or frustration, to really allow yourself to just be present with what is, and again, take that higher, wider perspective to see what this might be coming up for in order to show you or direct you on other options that you may not have previously been aware of. And in the big picture, when you look back, you're likely to see how it all comes together. But again, we always have our free will choices with all of these different pathways and timelines that we're moving along, just being present with what is. And again, that word surrender. All right, this is what I'm talking about. The final card, position 5, how Mercury retrograde can help you on your karmic path. And I was just talking about all those different paths and timelines. Yes, getting it moving. We have the Chariot here and this beautiful word, triumph. So in other words, everything is coming into alignment for your greatest growth, healing, and expansion. And so this card is really bringing to light getting things moving, and you are in the driver's seat of that. So, again, having this reflective period, these, forced pauses, which we generally don't like to be, put in a position where things come along and set us on a particular path or put us in a particular state. And, to the extent that, being present with what is means feeling unpleasant things like sluggish, confused, mentally foggy, having challenges with communication, the delays, the indecisions, all of those types of things. It's all a part of fine-tuning and readying your vehicle for the journey ahead. So the Chariot, I love to give that analogy of getting ready for any big trip. You know, when we're heading out on a journey in our vehicle, we're making sure that the oil is changed, the tires are rotated, that we're in tip-top shape. We've got our map, you know, all things are all mapped out for our route and the way that we're going, but we also allow for traffic delays and detours and potty breaks and all those kind of things. So it's like the same kind of way we can view, you know, our journey through each year as sort of like the long game, you know, and so part of that is going to include the pit stops. And so if you can look at the retrograde periods as a bit of a pit stop, or a refreshment too, like just refuel, refresh, you know, keeping those car analogies going when it comes to rebooting and being ready to get back on the road. And so kind of combining that 4th and 5th card with the waiting game and being at the crossroads and contemplating the routes that we're taking, being rerouted, you know, all the things. We see that Mercury retrograde can really help you on your karmic path, on your journey to get you moving again, and in a very triumphant manner. So it doesn't get any better than that. So finally, as we look back over these 5 cards that are coming up for us collectively, we see that this retrograde can involve some disruptions, some delays, some changes, some reroutes, you know, things of that nature, all par for the course. But there's a lot of light and beautiful flowing energy in here too. Another thing I see here with, again, the latter half of the retrograde, and especially as I was just speaking about the Chariot energy, is once again looking at our vehicle literally as our physical bodies. So again, having that highlight and pass through, focus on our daily habits related to our health, our well-being, getting into alignment on all levels. So it's kind of like going from the disruption of the tower all the way to the triumph of the Chariot to get you in racing condition to get back out there on the road. So a lot of beautiful energy coming our way that we can work with in order to keep things flowing. So once again, guys, just remember that we're here to raise our consciousness, to see this Mercury retrograde period and all of those other astrological aspects as a powerful time of reflection and inner wisdom rather than annoyance or a hindrance or something for us to fear. So, you know, just some reminders with that is kind of keeping into perspective that this really is an opportunity for us to become better listeners, evolved communicators, and to set better boundaries for ourselves. And so that can come in the form of so many different things as surrender, letting stuff go, and being patient with our screen devices, technology. Again, like I said, take those glitches as a sign that it's a good time to pause or to take a break. And remember, you're only human. You know, you're on this path, you are doing your best. And so be sure to have some compassion and grace for yourself and for others with forgiveness and allowing yourself to use those quote unquote mistakes as ways to information gather so that you now know what works, what doesn't, and restart again. And again, prioritizing yourself to create a healthier regimen, recognizing that that is going to be key in your ability to use your vehicle to get you through here with the highest and best path ahead. Okay, guys, so as we wrap up here, I thank you so much for joining me. I'd just like to highlight a couple of ways that we can connect and work together as we move into the fall. I have a number of specials available, special spreads, a fall chakra cleanup, which is a great color energy healing session, a number of other ways that we can work together. So that link is here. If you're interested to peruse those offerings to book now, I would love to connect with you. As always, I'm so grateful to you for watching the content, sharing with me your perspectives, how you're moving through things. Here again is a look at the September energies, a video on my YouTube channel that you can check out with just some overall guidance for navigating through September. My YouTube channel is there if if you'd like to subscribe and click the notifications, then you'll know when new content is added. But I just would like to thank you so much again for your support and sending you so much love and many, many blessings. Talk to you soon.